Welcome, Moonbreakers. This time we see Fun versus Terrarius. Same map as the last match that I uploaded. However, different scenario. You can see also same captains again. Fun playing Astra. Terrarius is playing also Saveri. And yeah, in the top left you can already see in the first turn Terrarius deployed Savria, shielded Savria, and is now moving forward to take the point. While Saveri moved towards, well, a little bit towards the bottom. It's not very far to the bottom. But you can see Saveri is now kind of in the middle of the map. And we also see a second deployment here, and that is Fixer. Fixer, of course, is a really nice unit for Sinner generation and really helps Saveri. I feel like whenever you play Saveri, most people either bring Motivator or Fixer. One of those two, because yeah, you really need Sinner generation. And then we see Astra here, hopping forward. No deployment in Fun's first turn. And since he was second player, he's now up to 6 leadership. And at this point, he's kind of thinking, yeah, where to go. You could also see he had actually Cinder Sphere ready this time in the first turn. Unlike the last game. But on this map, there was also a bit more distance between the starting positions. And this is a rather interesting choice. He uses another Cinder Sphere to jump to the top. The idea here is, I think, to have as much distance between Saveri and his units as possible. But I feel like if Astra had stayed at the bottom, it might have been a little bit better to block, essentially. But this way, he also gets the point, which is nice. And we see a lot of small units come down. Yeah. Deadeye, Snareling, and Savria. Savria is really nice with Astra for the double shield. But I feel like in this scenario, maybe there was an argument actually to only deploy 2 units, for example, and go with Pyro, because both units here are standing next to each other. So I could see how the AoE would have been worth it, and there was enough Cinder to fire Pyro twice, or the Tonia. Both would have been, I feel like, also really good options here. But it would have meant 1 less deployment, which means less Cinder in the future, which is also really tricky with Astra. Then we see Fixer attacking Snareling, removing the first shield. Fixer is snared, so Fixer doesn't get away, and I think it's really important to snare Fixer down here, because you need to control the Cinder that Saveri has, otherwise you will die. Like, her damage output is just too high. And we see a beautiful pull here with Crankbait. That's so nice to get the Snareling out of the way. Snareling is a really annoying unit, so Snareling has to die. One thing that Terrarius could have done here is move Crankbait actually to the bottom left control point. Just barely touch it, essentially, so that Crankbait isn't too far away from the action. But with Fun's position, it would have been incredibly hard to get down there to the other point. And yeah, you see Snareling dying. Crankbait could have also punched Snareling, but it didn't really make a difference here, so it doesn't really matter. Fixer got shielded again, because that was the last target of Astra. And yeah, I think at this point Fun has to make a choice, whether to go for Fixer or the other reasonable option is Crankbait. Crankbait is a lot further down, he only has 4 Cinder. Technically he could have deployed something like the Tonia, plus the Deadeye, plus Astra, that would be with a double attack, or a double grenade, that would have been 7 damage to kill the Crankbait, and I feel like it would have been reasonable, but the problem is there's a chance to miss, and there's no space to add, or to use release Ossos on Deadeye, so it would have been quite a big risk to do it. But I feel like in this matchup, like killing Fixer or killing Crankbait is a really tough choice. You really want to see both dead, honestly. And we see the positioning here from Fun, and this time the Tonia comes down. You can also see Fun is really stuck in that corner up there right now. And the reason for that is, yeah, he really has to protect against Severi. Because of the control points. Right now both players have 1 control point each. And I'm not sure if I really like this move here with Astra. Like that she comes forward. I feel like it would have been potentially also reasonable to stay in front of units and try to block them from Severi. The lunge can still go through, but especially with Crankbait, there's so much potential movement. You can see here Crankbait is going in a really nice position, pulling Severi forward while also taking the control point. Then Severi goes up there, and she is gonna launch into those units. There's 5 Cinder, so she can also duel if she wants to. It's a lot of Cinder, but it's also a lot of damage. So yeah, it's a really nice move here. And all these units up there are now in a really difficult spot, because now Astra's on the other side of Severi. And that's not really where you want to be with Astra, right? Astra really needs to be close to her units, and it's also so important to keep your units alive with Astra. With Severi, it's basically if all units are dead, you still have a really powerful captain, right? With Astra, it's the opposite. Astra on her own is really bad. The units that she has, or the synergies that she has, are incredibly powerful. But if she can't pull off any synergies, then Astra becomes really weak. And you can see in the sports state right now, Fun is still generating a decent amount of Cinder. But it's starting to become, I'd say, a little bit difficult for him. We also see Tibu here, and Tibu is, well, he is a reasonable threat that has to be answered. But Tibu also has 9 health. He has 6 leadership right now. I'm honestly not sure if there was any way for him to kill that Tibu in that turn. I'm thinking maybe with Antios, but then he is still missing 1 point of damage. Right now the Tibu is at 7 health, right? Antios punches for 5. There's no possibility of a double pump this turn. So yeah, this is really tricky, honestly. But we see the Pyro here. Pyro is a great option. Nice thing is Pyro also deals burn damage, of course. And you see a really interesting attack angle from Fun here. He burns Astra, but the reason for that is because he really wants to stand inside the point. And he's also getting out of Tibu's range that way, but it also means Savria didn't get burned again, and I don't know if I like that. But it makes sense to contest the point. Like with this list, Fun is really playing for victory points. You can see right now they're pretty even on points. Fun Savria is now standing next to a Cinder Pile, so that's really nice for Astra, but it also means this Savria is, yeah, pretty far away from the action. And we still have Crankbait here, so overall this board state is looking really dangerous for Fun. Especially with Severi there. Severi can basically, yeah, she either goes for Deadeye or for Savria, or maybe there's still other options, right? Depending on what Terrarius has in his list. There are quite a few ways to kill things. And one annoying thing here with Tibu is, once Tibu punches something, he's gonna heal for 1, and it means the burn will be removed. This is also important to keep in mind when burning Tibu. Like, burn in general is really good, especially with Astra when you stack 2 burns, but Tibu can remove the burn on himself. And then we see another really nice move with Crankbait here.
She hated rushing.
Pyro is a big threat, and I think it's definitely the right choice to go after Pyro. Maybe the Crankbait was a tiny little bit misplaced, but I think it doesn't really matter here. The Terrarius has to use the lunge, and we also see Stitchy as a last second drop. and healing the Tibu, and this is such a rough spot. Problem is also Fun just doesn't have enough Cinder right now. Fun needs 6 Cinder for the most powerful combos that he has. That is the Antios and the Sentinel combo. His 4 Cinder combos are already gone. That was the Pyro and the Teutonia. So he just doesn't have enough units right now. And this puts him in a really, really difficult spot. The thing is, Tibu can still die here, but he's not really using Astra's abilities basically right now. And this means whenever Astra can't use her abilities, it just doesn't feel good. Let's put it like that. But we see Sludge Sprayer here again, and I really like the Sludge Sprayer. It's such an interesting unit. I haven't seen him really a lot being used, but yeah, the Sludge Piles, like the position for the Sludge Piles is really interesting. This essentially blocks Crankbait and Severi for a turn. And yeah, I really like the position there. And here we go. Antios comes down. The Tibu is dead. That was super important. Sabria is still standing at the Cinder pile. I think it's okay that she is standing there. Because I still feel like Fun really wants to get to the 6 Cinder threshold. Right now he has 3 units on the board. So if those units were to survive for a turn... Actually he has 4 units on the board, never mind. So essentially if 1 unit dies, then he still has enough Cinder to get to the 6 Cinder threshold, which, yeah, enables Sentinel. Really a cool idea from Terrarius here, but sadly slightly misplaced. You can see there's not enough space for Severi to move past Crankbait here. This can happen really easily. But for Terrarius, I would say, yeah, Antios kinda has to die. If Antios survives, it's too much damage potential, and we see Switchback here. A really nice unit. Lots of damage. Also a lot of Cinder, which is interesting to see that with Severi, but yeah, and even a shield on the Switchback. I really like that. I think this is a pretty good move. And you can see Fun's list, he still has Thorium and Sentinel, but he is really running out of units at this point, and he needs a lot of damage.
Your opponent has a 1-point lead.
And this turn, Fun does something that I don't really like. At least I think it was a misplay in this particular situation. Generally speaking, I said earlier already, right? Crankbait has to die. And you can see Fun is lining up here for the Crankbait kill. But I think with Switchback, Stitchy and Savria standing all in one cluster, it would have been a lot better to use Sentinel to attack that pile and drop them all really low. And then if Astra removes the shield on Switchback here, Switchback goes to 2 health. There might be a good angle for Deadeye to hit Switchback. It's really hard to tell without that being tested, but she has the buff on her. If not, she could at least kill Stitchy, and it means the Switchback would sit at 2 health. And I really feel like that would have been really important here to drop them all really low. It also would mean that Savria would be at 2 health also. Yeah, I think it would have been the better move here overall. Of course, I'm talking with hindsight, and I'm not under time pressure, so it's really easy for me to say that. And Sludge Sprayer just runs for his life here. Maybe he should have moved towards the point down there, but I guess the idea here was to protect from the lunge, so it makes sense.
No one is in the lead.
But the real problem now is Switchback is still there, and Sabria is there, so we see more shields. Stitchy is still there. They all can get out of Sentinel range. Like, the Sentinel is incredibly powerful, but Fun doesn't have a way to move the Sentinel. That's essentially the cost of playing with Astra there. The idea behind Sentinel here is basically it's a 6 damage AoE attack. But even with Crankbait dead, you can see, yeah, there's Quetzali. Quetzali, I think, is even expected here, to be honest, because, yeah, I would say pretty much every Severi list is gonna run Quetzali, and it's just so powerful.
Little birds in a row. Prove yourself,
Interestingly enough, though, they're still sitting at even victory points, even after all the time.
Captain, your health
So
is
both
at
players
50%.
contested the points really well up to this point, but now Terrarius is controlling the bottom left point. And I mean, Sludge Sprayer is there, but it's really the only thing that can potentially contest the bottom left point. Severi is going after the Deadeye on the right point now, and obviously Deadeye doesn't stand a chance there in that duel. So I would say, yeah, overall this is a really, really, really tough position for Fun.
Your turn. No one is in
And
the
he only has 2 units left to work with, and they don't synergize well with Astra. They're good units, but at this point they don't synergize too well. You can also see Severi actually had the dual ability. Sludge Sprayer is putting out another pile to keep Severi in check as much as possible. But now everything left the range of the Sentinel. And that's why I think it would have been a lot better if all these units down there, if they would be low health right now, right? Like, if you think about it, the Stitchy would be dead. The Sentinel would be at 2 health. I mean, yes, there would still be a Crankbait, but I mean, there's a Quetzali on the board, so it doesn't really matter that there's also a Crankbait. You can't really do anything about those two. But even with those two, I think the situation that Fun is in is just... yeah. It's a very tough spot. And now you can see Fun is using a double movement of Astra here again. The problem is, yeah, the Sentinel can't attack anything. Going for Quetzali now, I feel like that's a little bit hopeless, considering the damage he has left in his list. Into the breach to get another sludge pile out. I really do like the idea of the sludge piles. I don't know if Sludge Sprayer, though, is actually really good or not. Like, I find it really nice in a way, but on the other hand, I always feel like it's mostly all about damage. And that's why I don't know if Sludge Sprayer is good, especially if a unit like Quetzali just allows you to run around them, right? Or even Crankbait or Chuck. Like, there's so many ways, basically, to avoid obstacles. It's actually quite interesting. Because of that, I also feel like Zax, for example, suffered a lot in power level. In the past, his mines could be really used as blockers. These days, I feel like it's, yeah, everybody is running so much displacement. At least everybody who needs it. Astra doesn't need displacement because she can just hop across the whole map. She doesn't have to worry about it.
Choose your lies wisely.
And then Severi is moving up here. Yeah, there comes the lunge. An melee attack and a duel. Which means that Sabria is also finally dying. She produced a lot of Cinder, but she didn't... well, actually in the beginning there were quite a few shields.
Let's get you loosey.
Sabria coming in, punching Sludge Sprayer. Oh, there's even Chuck here. Punching and tossing. Oh, poor guy. And Switchback also comes in. Killing Sludge Sprayer.
She hated rushing.
And yeah, you can see Terrarius is now sitting at 3 victory points. I mean, Fun with the Cinder Sphere can potentially contest a point there. But in the next turn, he would most likely lose Stitchy. So yeah, at this point, I think
Your opponent has a 2-point lead.
there really isn't too much he can do. So you can see he's thinking here about taking that point, but he has no way to contest the other point. And even if he contests both points, it's like he's not gonna get a lot of kills at this point. And you can see, yeah, there's the concede. GG. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a moontastic day. Bye.